The coming Holodomor catastrophe will concern all of humanity. 97.7 million birds already dead as the worst bird flu outbreak ever sweeps through North America and Europe. Did you know we are in the midst of the worst bird flu outbreak ever recorded? Millions upon millions of birds have died, and most people don't even realize that such a nightmarish plague has completely devastated North America and Europe. But what people do know is that eggs, chicken, and turkey just keep getting more expensive at the grocery store. In fact, supplies are starting to dwindle so much that some experts are now talking about potential shortages during the holiday season. The biggest bird flu epidemic in Europe. And we read from the page from the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control. The 2021-22 highly pathogenic avian influenza HPAI epidemic. The epidemic season is the longest observed in Europe so far. The latest data from the joint EFSA, ECDC, and EU reference laboratory report show that a total of 2,467 cases in poultry, 48 million birds killed in the affected establishments, 187 detections in captive birds, and 3,573 events of influenza in wild birds. In addition, the geographical extent of the epidemic is unprecedented, ranging from Svalbard Islands, which are all the way up north towards the Arctic, to southern Portugal and east to Ukraine, affecting 37 European countries. Stalin, in the caucus of the summer of 1932, to his left with an axe in his belt, Lavrentiy Beria, Georgian Bolshevik, who during the Holodomor period was first secretary of the Communist Party of Georgia in 1931 and party leader of the entire Transcaucasia region in 1932. Of course, he contributed the most to the genocide of Ukraine. Now, Stalin called the peasants enemies of the people. By expropriating them, the state assumed control of food production. Then 7 million Russians died of starvation. And now, 100 years later, the World Economic Forum opens war on farmers. Notice the similarities. According to Marxist doctrine, however, all the richest peasants, the kulaks, were leeches and parasites who had become rich by exploiting poorer peasants who were now subserving the collectivity. Stalin announced that the solution to better grain production was to struggle against the capitalist elements of the peasantry, against the kulaks, and proclaimed the goal of liquidating the kulaks as a class. In reality, however, Ukraine never had a separate social class of kulaks. This idea was a Marxist invention. Grain confiscated from families derided as kulaks in the village of Ukraine, of Udachue. Now, in a recent visit to the North Caucasus in Ukraine, the writer says, I saw something of the battle going on between the government and the farmers. On the one hand, millions of starving peasants, their bodies often swollen from lack of food. On the other, soldiers, members of the GPU carrying out the directives of the dictatorship of the proletariat. They had passed through the country like a swarm of locusts, had taken all the food. They had shot or exiled thousands of peasants, sometimes entire villages. They had transformed some of the most fertile lands in the world into gloomy deserts. British journalist Malcolm Mudgery stated, now, unable to find food, many ate everything they could be considered, such as weeds, leaves, tree barks, and, of course, insects. Isn't that a very apropos, timely insects and bug-eating subject? Kaganovich, along with Molotov, participated in the All-Ukrainian Party Conference in 1930, tasked with implementing the policy of collectivization that led to the famine of 1932-33, known as the Holodomor in Ukraine. Similar policies also caused enormous suffering in the Soviet Central Asian Republic of Kazakhstan, the Kuban region, the Crimea, the Lower Volga region, and other parts of the Soviet Union. As an emissary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party, Kaganovich traveled to Ukraine, the central regions of USSR, and the North Caucasus. The same caste of rulers, and today some of them, obviously many but covered descendants of those people, are preparing the new Holodomor, except that this time it will not concern only one people, but the whole of humanity. This is from the Pelasgian. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Isn't that something? 100 years later, the same thing is about to happen. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.